Hey friends, Father Worm here today because we actually forgot an important exotic for yesterday's list in the exotics that suck. And this one was so bad I actually forgot how bad it was, but that is Sanguine Alchemy. Oh boy, this thing had some time in the sun way back in Warmind. However, it was nerfed and has never been ever used again, ever. Basically, its perk here, Blood Magic. Weapon kills while standing in any rift. Pause the rift's countdown, extending its duration. Further kills maintain and extend the length of the pause. Wow. This is such a niche exotic. It revolves around the rift, right? You know, it extends the rift, blah, blah, blah. Problem is, there is a better exotic, in my opinion, a better exotic that does the same thing, and that's Boots of the Assembler. So Sanguine Alchemy needs to see some change. First of all, it looks absolutely amazing. But Blood Magic, I think, just needs some better. It obviously needs a rework here. What it used to do was when you were standing in a rift, it would mark enemies through walls. It would mark enemies within a certain distance. So you could put a rift down in something like, competitive, for example, and you'd be able to see your enemies through walls as long as they were within like 15-20 meters. And it was just constant, like there's like the little X on them, like if somebody's been tagged by tether. Yeah. If somebody's been tagged by tether, then they have that little X on it. It was the same thing. However, Bungie at the time thought it was way too powerful and took that away and changed it. So now this is what it does. And literally, I don't think anybody has ever used it since then, because it's terrible. Too niche, I should say. Not terrible, but too niche, and it's outshined by another exotic. So how would we go about actually fixing Blood Magic to make it better? Well, number one, I think that actually having, bringing back like the ability to, see targets through walls is okay, as long as it only marks like one target, similar to Foe Tracer or the One-Eyed Mask or something like that. Because it does require you to stand in a certain place. Like, if you got Sanguine Alchemy on in Trials and somebody starts and you see, oh, they have Sanguine Alchemy on, that if you see a rift be put down, if you can see it like through the wall or around the corner, you can see like the little animation or whatever, that they can see you through walls. I don't think it would be too bad in this current meta. But obviously this perk here kind of plays into the idea of using your rift for a, I guess, I don't know, which like a combat advantage. It wants you to stay in your rift, right? It wants you to put your rift down and stay in it for as long as possible. So I think that we could do something, just kind of rework it essentially to make it much better. Not fully rework, but here, let's talk about, okay, so weapon kills while standing in any rift, pause the rift's countdown, extending its duration. That's not like terrible. The problem is most enemies die like super quick, right? So like, you are standing in the rift, there's a bunch of thrall coming at you, you put it down, like you cut through those thrall in like 0.2 seconds. Like you literally don't need an extended rift at this point. So I think this perk right here needs to be changed. Instead of weapon kills, you can have precision hits. Okay, precision hits while standing in any rift, pause the rift's countdown. So healing rift, pause the healing rift countdown. For empowering rift, it pauses the empowering rift's countdown, but it's only on precision hits. Or if you wanted to make it a little bit more balanced, you do rapid precision hits. So once you hit like 3 precision hits, it'll put up that timer. And then once that timer runs out, it goes on like a small cooldown for like 2 seconds. Or maybe not even a cooldown at all, just make it so every time you hit a precision hit, it just constantly resets that timer. So you could basically have an infinity rift as long as you can hit precision shots, right? That would be the first thing I would do to promote the idea of staying in your rift, sorry. The second thing that I would do is add bonus like benefits to the rifts themselves. So, empowering rift gives you, I think, a 15% damage boost. I would say bring it up to 25%. Now, maybe not 25% because that's the Well of Radiance. I say bring it to 20%. Now, if you're in an empowering rift, no, you know what? 25%. No, we're 25%. And the reason, we'll talk about why in a second. But in an empowering rift, when you're standing in it, instead of doing 15% more damage, you're dealing 25% more damage. And in a healing rift, instead of getting that really slow heal, you have like what I would say is the equivalent of like maybe restoration times 2 or maybe times 3. healing so that you're healing really, really fast. Okay. And then, you know, again, as long as you can hit precision shots, it'll reset that timer. That would really promote the idea of placing a rift down and standing in it and chilling in it until, you know, there's nothing left to do. You know, so if you're in a boss fight, you can put an empowering rift down. You and all your teammates are getting 25% more damage as long as you're hitting those precision shots. You have that buff. Now, of course, the trade-off, like, well, what would be the point of Well? Of course, Well of Radiance, you are invincible, almost invincible. You're not technically invincible, but you're almost invincible, right? In an empowering rift for that 25% damage, if you don't have a healing rift or something else down, you're going to get chewed up really quick, right? So, you know, in order for this to work properly, you'd have to have, or in order for this to work to its like maximum effect in like a boss DPS phase, you'd have to have 2 warlocks wearing the Sanguine Alchemy, right? And one of them had to use, one would have to be using healing rift, one would have to be using empowering rift. They put it down, and then it's like you have a mini well that just lasts, you know, forever. Not quite as powerful as well, not as much damage, not as much health regeneration. But I think that would be a really, really strong change. I think that, you know, doing that would give it a place, right? It would give it a place in terms of boss damage. You know, you have rifts that can last forever as long as you can hit precision shots, and you're dealing more damage, or you're healing faster, something, you know, something along those lines. Now, the trade-off for having that, I would say that once you put a rift down, your rift doesn't recharge until you're actually out of the rift. Okay, so if you're, you know, you put down a healing rift, you get that really fast health regeneration. As long as you're in there and you're getting precision hits, you are extending the timer, you know, blah blah blah. You're making it, you know, last longer. You're all that stuff, right? But while you're standing there and you're doing that, you're not recharging your rift. It's only once you step out that it starts to actually recharge. And every time you step back into a rift, whether it's a Well of Radiance or, you know, somebody else's healing rift, somebody else's empowering rift, it stops the timer, stops the cooldown for your rift. That way it's not too powerful. Like, it's not to the point where you can just like infinitely spam it, so to speak. And hell, I'm sure players could probably devise some way to to figure out how to, you know, give you chunks back. Because, you know, in things like I apologize, forget the name of it, Icefall Mantle, I'm pretty sure that perks that recharge your barricade for like throwing a grenade actually work while your barricade is not on cooldown, or while your overshield is active and your barricade's not cooling down. So I'm sure players would find a way to get basically infinite rifts out of this, and of course these rifts would be really strong. But again, this thing has not seen time in the sun since season 8. Or no. Well, oh god, it was even before that. I'm pretty sure it was nerfed in season... I think it was nerfed in season 8. I could be wrong. It hasn't seen the light of day since then. That was way back in, what, like 2018, I believe? Was the last... was when season 8 was. So yeah, I think that just building into that idea of making a useful rift more useful, you know, giving it more healing if it's a healing rift, giving it more damage if it's a what's it called, empowering rift, and having it stop that timer on precision hits would be a great change. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you coming and watching this short video. Again, I apologize, I forgot to mention this yesterday. That just speaks to how bad it is. But yeah, that's it for this video. We'll have a video coming out later today, of course, but I just wanted to talk about this one because I was sitting on the couch earlier and I was thinking about it and I was like, oh my god, I forgot to talk about it. But yeah, of course, like this video, helps out the channel a lot. Sub for more daily Destiny content. And as always, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.